I'm Grigory from Dataplicity, and in that tutorial series I want to show you how to create our own Scrum task management application, something Jira-like. It will be looking like this. Nice graphical interface with ability to easily create, edit and delete tasks. In first part of our tutorial we will create an API using the Django Rest Framework. In second part, with our own Raspberry Pi and Dataplicity platform we will host it online, our API I mean. And in the third part we will create a graphical client for our application using the Vue.js. So let's start with first part, with our API. With the API we will be able to see our tasks we have in database, we'll be able to create new ones, we'll be able to edit existing ones, and obviously we will be able to delete them. As I mentioned before, we will use a Django Rest Framework for creating our API. So let's start. First of all, let's start from installing libraries we need for our project. And the first of them will be obviously Django. Another one will be Django Rest Framework. After that, let's start a new project. Let's move inside the project directory and let's start inside it a new app. Name it Scrum app. That app will be responsible for the creation of or editing of the tasks. Inside the Scrum app directory, let's open the models.py file. In that file, we will define models, or in other words, the database tables. Let's define the task model with parameters name, that will be string of maximum length 50. Next parameter will be description, it also will be string or the char field in the Django terminology. Let's specify the max length and also let's specify the blank parameter that equals true because our description could be blank. The next field we will define is a priority field. There will be chosen option, so value of the field will be chosen from several different values. We need to define a dictionary of tuples. Let's name it priorities. Let's define three possible priorities: a low priority, medium, and high one. After that, let's create a priority field that will be also char field with length of 1 because our shortcut will every time have only one letter length. And let's specify parameter choices. And also let's specify the default value. In a similar way, let's create also a parameter stage, also chosen field. And there will be three simple stages: to-do stage, progress stage, and done stage. So everything is similar like in the previous field. Okay, so that's all. The task model is ready for now. Also in the project folder, let's open file settings.py and in that file, in the installed app list, let's add the REST framework app and also app we just created, or Scrum app. After every database model change, we need to migrate that model by using commands make migrations and migrate. Let's create serializers.py file, and in that file we will create an serializers that will, serialize our data to the JSON format to allow it to be sent via REST communication. So let's pass some imports inside that, for example, our task model, and let's create class task serializer. Inside of that class, let's create a meta class inside which let's define parameters such as model, and our model will be task model, and the fields of our model. Notice that beside of all fields we defined before, we also need to add here an ID field to be able to find our tasks. And for now, it's always serializers.py. Let's open views.py file, inside which we will create an view sets. Let's define a new view class and task view. And inside of that, let's define also some parameters like serializer class, and it will be written by us previously and task serializer. Let's also define permission classes, and allow any parameter means that to achieve that view, we have no need to have any permissions. We need to define query set of our view set. And let's go further. Let's create also urls.py. And inside that file, also let's make some imports. And let's create so-called router, the object that will describe routes to our URL pages. Inside of that component, we need to register a new route, in that case the task route, bind it with the task view, and also let's pass here parameter base name, because without it we will have some errors in the future. Core of every urls.py file in Django is the URL patterns list, and inside that list we will define passes with our URLs. In our case, we need to put here router passes. Also inside the project folder we have another urls.py file, and inside that file we need to define another pass with our application route. Now let's run our application. By default, Django will work on the local host on the port 8000. After that, we need to write in our browser pass from the URL file from our project folder. So there will be Scrum pass. And after that, we need to add a pass from our router inside the urls.py file in our app folder. Finally, we have wrote localhost at 1000 Scrum tasks. We have some nice welcome screen of Django Rest Framework. Here we can add some task. Let's name it task number 1 and add description first task. After posting it, we can see here JSON with the task parameter. Let's do it for some another task, this time without any description, and also let's post it. After we have two tasks created, we can refresh page Scrum tasks, and we can see here all the tasks we have, first one and second one. If we add to our URL pass number of the task, we can access it by that number. It's a really nice feature of Django Rest Framework, because we didn't define it by ourselves, it already exists here. In professional applications, it could be not the best idea to leave the task IDs as part of the URL for safety reasons. In such cases, you can encrypt it using the, for example, UUID, but here, for the simplicity, we just leave it as it is. But our browser is definitely not the best tool for working with API. The better tool will be Postman. That application allows us to emulate any type of the request. Let's add to the Postman the URL we used before, and after sending get request to that URL, we also can get our tasks. Also, let's use the post request, and in the body, let's add some JSON with our task parameters. As we can see, after sending that request, another task have been created. We can check it one more time, and now we have 3 tasks. Okay, so what if we want to edit some task? For that we need to use put method and add here the number of tasks we want to edit. For example, let's edit the first task. Let's add to the body of our request the parameters to which our task will be updated. Let's update the name, some stage. As we can see, now our first task have been updated. And to delete some task, we need to send delete request to the URL of task we want to delete. For example, here we have deleted second task, and let's see, now we have only first and the third tasks. We already created an application in which we are able to create new tasks, edit their parameters, and delete the task. In the second part of the tutorial, we will create an user authentication property. So we will be able to register users, they will be able to log in and create own tasks that will be invisible for other users. Let's start new app that we will name Auth app. And inside the tab, let's open the serializers.py. Let's create an open serializers.py file. Inside of that app, we don't need to define our model, the user model in our case, because user model is already predefined in the Django. So we need to just import it into the serializers. And also let's do some other imports. Okay, let's create serializer for the user registration. And let's specify the fields of that serializer. It will be username field with parameters required. And also let's add here a unique validator, as each username should be unique. Also let's specify the password field. In the password field, we also need to use validate password validator. And second password field, the password confirmation. In the meta class, inside of that class, we need to specify a model. It will be user, defined Django user model, and also fields like username, password, and password confirmation fields. Let's override the validate function, and inside of that function, we will simply check if password and password confirmation fields are equal. If they are not, we will just raise error with proper description. And another function we need to override is the create function. That function, as name suggests, will create a new user. Let's specify a new user, set password for it, and save it inside the database. And that will be all with the serializers.py. Now let's open views.py file. Also, let's make some imports. Just created register serializer should be here. And let's create the register view. We need to specify a query set field. It will be all objects of type user. Permission classes, here it will allow any class because everyone could be able to register. And also specifying serializer class that we just created. Next, let's create here urls.py file. And in URLs patterns, we need to create an URL patterns list. And here we will add path to our register view. Also in the urls.py file inside of our main project folder, we need to add the new URL pattern with our authentication app. And one more thing, we need to add in the settings in the installed apps our authentication app. Okay, and now we can run it. Uh, there's some error with passwords. That's because we need to remove brackets after validate password validator. And now it probably will work. Let's go now to auth register path as we specified it in the URLs files. Okay, there's another error and it's because here in the release register serializer should be argument fields, not field. It misleading here. The correction, it works. Let's try to register new user. Add here some username and password, and we will see that user has been created. We can check in the local database the table that names auth user, and we can see here first position with username user1 and with ID 1. Now let's return to our Scrum app and let's edit our task model and some other parameters. To our task have only one user and another user could not see your tasks. Let's add to the task model a parameter owner. It will be foreign key from out user model. Let's specify also on delete cascade parameter. That means that if we delete our user, all his tasks also will be deleted. And let's specify default user with ID number 1, the user we was created just now. As I mentioned before, we need to make migrations and migrate our database if we do any change in our model. And now let's edit also a couple of another things. For example, in views.py, let's change permission class from allow any to is authenticated. Now only logged in users could access all tasks. And query set of tasks will be not all tasks we have in database, but only tasks with parameter owner that equals to our logged in user. And also let's override perform create function. Now by default, during the creation of the new task, his owner field will be written as username of the logged in user. One more thing we need to do is allow in our API cross-origin resource sharing for communication with our client that we will create in the third part of the tutorial. For that we need to install Django cross-headers library. And in the settings.py, add in installed app cross-headers app. Also add in the middleware cross-headers.middleware.course middleware. And also in the bottom of the file, let's add next parameter that will allow the course communication. Let's add star in the allowed hosts to allow our application to be hosted in every server. Let's run it now and let's see. If we send now GET request in our Postman, we can see information that authentication credentials were not provided. It means we are not logged in, so we are not able to see the tasks. Let's go to the authentication page. In the basic auth, let's provide our authentication data. So our username and password that we use to create our user. And now, by sending the request, we can see all the tasks. Let's create another user, say user2, with some another password. And let's log in as that another user. We can see that user has no own task here. So we need to create new task, user2 task, and task is created. Okay, so now let's try to access task number 4 that don't belongs to the user 2, it belongs to user 1. And we can see here that we cannot find the task. But if we log in back to the user 1, task is successfully found. Task editing also still works as before. And we can see that our user 2 have also own task now. Nice. Our API works. We have successfully created our application backend, and in the next video I will show you how to host our application online in a really easy way using only our own Raspberry Pi. If that video was useful for you, please leave a like and subscribe our channel. And see you in the next one.